Hey guys, it's Blake again, and as you remember from our last video, we were currently using console projects. And remember when I talked about the console, that black screen that popped up? And I've been thinking, well, when you first thought of C++ and gaming and stuff, you probably thought like, oh, I want to make a game like Battlefield 3 or something like Call of Duty or something like that. That was probably on your mind, or at least a future goal and something you wanted to strive at. Or maybe not, maybe you just want to learn some development, because I honestly don't know. But when you came here, you're like, oh, this sucks. This is like text-based games. I don't want to learn how to make those, like Zork. Nobody cares about those. That was a big thing like the 1980s, I think. I'm a 90s kid, so I wouldn't really know. But I spent a lot of time trying to figure this out. Where exactly am I going to go from here? Because I recently learned some graphics stuff. For about a month now, I've been learning graphics with C++, so don't worry. And I thought, well, maybe they don't want to learn text-based games. And so I got thinking again. Okay, so what if I taught them a lot of the basics using a text-based kind of console project, and we transferred those skills over to more of a graphics thing? So, I got this thing called the Chili Framework with DirectX library, and that basically is just a type of graphics thing, basically. And I want you guys to check out the link in the description to Planet Chili's channel. I want to thank him for letting me use his framework, because making my own would be nearly impossible. He's a great guy. You should check out his channel. He makes some really great tutorials himself, and that's what kind of inspired me to do these ones. So go to his channel, watch the very first video, or maybe not the whole thing, but install the framework and stuff, and come back here. In case you didn't notice, I am not using Code Blocks anymore. I'm using Microsoft Visual C++, because that's what the framework is compatible with. And you're gonna see, something like this. You're gonna open it up, and it's gonna tell you basically this, except down here in Void Game Compose Frame, it might say something like to do blah blah blah, but I deleted that. It doesn't really matter. That's called a comment. And a comment is, I could say like int x, x, and I could put comment and say this is a declaration of x, and it really doesn't mean much. I mean, it's not going to screw up your code if you start typing. That's basically so you can put a little comment for a reader to do. It just makes it easier for the code to read, so they don't have to read through the actual code if there's comments. They can just read the comments and know what's going on. Hopefully that might make it a little easier to debug, but we're not going to be using those right now. So, if you're going to notice, you don't know any of this stuff. I have not taught you about void or classes, the public and private. I kind of talked about namespaces, not really constants. There's a lot of new ground to cover. Number including game.h. So, here's a big thing. When we start, you know how it normally says number include stdafx.h? Well, you don't have to do that. And don't do number include iOS stream either. Don't even do that. And do not do using namespace std. We are not going to have to use any of those anymore. No, int main, it's going to be pretty new to you guys. Now, if I hit build and run here, you're going to notice that there's nothing on the screen. It's still going to build and stuff, but it's going to pop up as a black screen. You're not going to really see anything on there, and you shouldn't, because there's nothing there. Now, this is Void Game Compose Frame. Now, we're going to start doing some stuff in there. Let's say that we wanted to put 1 pixel on the screen. This is what we'd have to do for 1 pixel. GFX, which means graphics, dot. And you're going to see this little thing come up. It's called IntelliSense. You can click put pixel. I'll show you another way to do it in a second. And 400 is the x coordinate. 300 is the y coordinate. And let's do R, G, B. Actually, get rid of 400 and 300, replace 300 with y, and replace 400 with x. Now, these variables are all undeclared, so you're probably like, okay, well, they're telling me they're undeclared. How do I use these? Okay, now, when you open it up, chances are yours is going to look like this. You're going to have to click on header files for the .h files and source files for the .cpp. Now, the .cpp game.cpp, is where we're going to be working. This is this file right in here. Now, game.h is a little different. I'm not going to explain the differences now, but I will eventually. So yours should be something like this, where user variables is, and I'm just going to type in, oh god, didn't want that to happen, int x, int y, int r, int g, int b. Now, x stands for the x-coordinate, meaning vertically across, like the horizon on, or not vertically, sorry, horizontally across, like the horizon of the sun. And y is the up and down axis, as usual, basically just like in math, except very, very slightly different. I will explain why in a second. R stands for the red coloration of the pixel, G stands for the green, and as you probably guessed, B stands for the blue. So let's go back to game.cpp, and you'll see there's not a red line under them. Now, here's where a lot of people get confused, because if I hit start debugging, it's going to give me a huge error here. And you're probably like, oh, but why? Well, here's why. If it looks, it says the game.go. This is going to be in the windows.cpp file, which I'm not going to go over because it's do while statements and size of operators, blah blah blah. It's a little too confusing, and you guys just won't understand it. And the column stack heap, blah blah blah, all that advanced crap, pointers. We'll get there eventually. Now it's because, if you didn't notice, we didn't give any of these a value. Now, don't go thinking we can do like x equals like 10. It'll give us a compiler error there if we try to give them a value inside this. So we have to go back to game.cpp. Now, do you see up here where it says number include game.h? Well, in that thing below it called game, the HWND, blah blah blah, with the constants and stuff, it's gonna say GFX, brackets, HWND, and another parentheses kind of thing. Sorry, my mind is just drawing a blank today. We're going to do a comma after KBD, parentheses, KServer, parentheses. Just make a comma, and do X, parentheses, 400. Now, this is, since we don't want to do equals, because equals will give us an error. I'm not exactly sure why. All I know is that it does. I mean, I could still do it down here, but like x equals 400. If you feel more comfortable with that, then go for it. But for what we're going to be doing, like moving the actual key, moving it with keys and stuff, you're not going to want to do that. You have to declare it up here because it just will not work down there. And that goes along with scope because I'm not sure if I ever talked about scope, but if I ever did, the global scope is basically up here where I'm typing my X and the Y, but if it's declared inside of local scope, inside the void game compose frame function there, then X is always going to be 400 and it's not going to be able to move. So let's do Y, and let's initialize that to 300. Oh, and just to let you guys know, when you are making, giving it values up there, it's actually called initializing. Oh, sorry, no comma. And once you get down to your last variable, sorry, because we're going to have a bunch of different variables later once we get into more complex games, make sure the very last one that you declare never has a comma after it, because it's going to give you this weird kind of error, like I did it right there. Sorry. Have to click that little break button there if it ever does that to you. And it's going to start building. And there's a it says syntax error. There's the little bracket there. And you're going to be looking, and chances are what you're thinking is, oh, the brackets aren't matched up. I must have put a bracket, but must never put the second one. Well, no. That isn't what it is. It's actually right there. And that's called a constructor box, basically. But we're not going to get into constructors right now, because that's a little too advanced. But inside those little constructor brackets, or the very furthest to the left one, you'll notice that there's a very little red squiggly line underneath it. Not very easy to see if you're skimming through thousands of lines of code. Even if it is at the top, chances are you're not expecting it there, even though it does say line 28. And if you look down there, line 28. So just get rid of that comma and it will work. And you'll notice there'll be a pixel right in the very middle of the screen. Right there. And for some reason it's blue, which is a little weird. Huh. Oh yeah, because we never initialized our R's, which should be 255, and our G's, which should be 255, or our B's, which should also be 255. 255 is the maximum amount you can have for color, and if all three, the red, blue, and green, are at maximum color, which is 255, it'll be a white pixel. I have no idea why it didn't give me an error there saying, oh, you haven't initialized these variables, but, you know. So I feel like that's enough for this first video, because I've covered a lot of ground. Rewatch it, go through what I've told you again, and just till you've got the hang of it. Remember, gfx.capital put pixel. Just basic things like that. Semicolons at the end of statements, commas up here, declare your variables in here, and we'll probably get to some functions later, like moving with the arrow keys, next program, or next lesson. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Blake Mills. Comment, rate, subscribe.